Hello friends. In my last video I showed you how I made this special little doll quilt. I showed you how I put the blocks together and where I got the idea from. So today I'm showing you how I long-armed this quilt. I am using mostly just free motion, little flowers and loops and little curls and swirls, just kind of doodling on this quilt like I would do if I had a pencil and paper. So it's really not difficult once you get it on there and get it ready to go. So I've floated this little quilt, not just the top but the whole quilt, and I do that most of the time unless I have a really big quilt. And how I do that is, and I didn't show you this part, but I just pin the backing onto my leader of my take-up bar, just like normal. And then I will stretch that out over the belly bar, the one that's closest to me as I'm quilting. And then I will lay my batting on top of the backing. And then I will lay the quilt top on top of that. I will sort of pin it at the top until I get it basted down, and then I will go ahead and just I will put some clamps on the front that I got from the Grace Company, which by the way is my machine, my long arm machine, and my frame came from the Grace Company. I'm using the Q-Neat 15R, which is, they're not really making it anymore, but I think they've got a 16 something. I have 15 inches of throat space. Actually I've got about maybe 12 or 13 because I keep my ruler base on all the time, and that takes up a little bit of extra space. But I like that so that I can just grab a ruler and use it if I need to, like for basting down the sides of the quilt. So I'll just let you watch me quilt for just a little bit here now. Okay, I'm getting close to the edge on this row, and I think I've already advanced my quilt once, and so I'll have once or twice more that I will be advancing it. But so I'm just finishing up right there. I'll just put my needle down and bring my bottom thread up and clip it. I'll just go over it a couple of times and it won't come out. So I'm just showing you there how the quilting looks on there. I usually have to turn my overhead lights off and just use side lights in order to see what I'm doing, especially if the thread is a real blender. Alright, so now I'm showing you here how I will end up the floated quilt. You can see I advanced it there by rolling the take-up bar. Now I raised the batting up so that you could see that I still have quite a bit of backing, and when I'm doing my own quilts I try to leave enough backing on there so that I can do it this way. If I don't have enough backing, then I will have to roll out the leader cloth. You see the white cloths there on the bars. I have one on all of the bars, and I would have to roll that up, and then I would have to pin that backing to that leader cloth. But this way I don't have to, because I can just tighten it up with my clamps. they kind of have a little ratcheting, I say that right, effect where you can just roll them towards you just a little bit and they'll click and you know that they've caught. Not sure I'm explaining that very technically correct, but anyway. And then I'll just stick some pins in the bottom of the quilt there just to hold it in place until I get my my basting done. And really I'm not really using a basting stitch. I'm using my regular stitch, the one that I'm quilting with, but it works like a basting stitch to hold those edges down so that I can finish quilting. So you see me bringing the thread up there and then running the thread just a little bit. I'll use my ruler to make my lines straight, or straight-ish anyway. I'll just hold my ruler with my left hand and guide with my right hand on the handles. Bring that ruler around to the back side and then just keep going all the way down. I like to quilt from left to right, and my machine likes it too. Sometimes if I'm going from right to left, it may skip a stitch, so I have to be careful about that. But now these machines are not the most expensive machines in the world, so they're well worth what I had to pay for mine. I am very pleased with my machine. And it's probably just because I have it in an outside building and it's on a wood floor, so it might not be completely level all the time because my floor tends to the wood floor kind of changes with the weather just a little bit, and so I have to make adjustments for that once in a while, but for the most part it's pretty consistent. Alright, so I'm just doing the last little bit of basting down here. For the most part, this machine has really been a good investment for me, and I mostly just do my own quilts. I might do some for friends once in a while. So it's going to last a long time, I think, and they're not paying me to say that. So okay, so I've got it all basted down. Take those pins out, and I think I'm just going to do a little bit more quilting here, so I'll just let you watch. I'm using an 80-20 batting here, 80% cotton and 20% poly. This was just some that I had pieced together from some leftovers that I had. I usually do that for baby quilts or just small throw quilts or whatever that I'm making, that I can use those leftover pieces, I will usually buy that tape that you can iron on to fuse those pieces together. I've found that it really holds together well. But I also have used the zigzag method. That works well too, as long as you have your pieces cut evenly. You can do that by laying one piece down on top of the other and then using a ruler and a rotary cutter, and that way you can get your pieces to where they will really work well together. Last week I was going through all of my batting scraps, and I had some that weren't really big enough to do that, so I decided to make 6-inch wide strips, and that way I can like sew the stringy scraps across those to make things like bags or scrappy quilts. In fact, I think I have a bag that I made, and I'll be putting out a video on that pretty soon. So yeah, I hate to throw anything away that might be good to use. Alright, I'm kind of coming to the end of this little jewel here. This was a fun little quilt to do. I've still got to do binding, and I'm going to put that on a separate little video also. Okay, this might not be something that you see a lot of quilters doing, but I have this wonderful big pair of pink scissors that I can just cut my quilts off of the long arm, because I really don't have a place in my sewing room to lay, well, I could have laid that small one out, but I find that it makes it, those are my clamps that I use on the front. I find that it makes a very smooth cut to do it that way and take it off. You can see there where I've put that one together, that batting together. So anyway, I take and trim that off right next to the quilt. And then I will roll it out a little, and I will trim each side off as well. Now this is a doll quilt, so I'm trimming it right next to the quilt itself, and then I probably won't even try to square it up or anything. It should be nice and square if I did my job right when I was making it, and I think I did. So it should be good for the binding. Now if I was doing a larger quilt, I would probably take it up to my church. We have a quilting group at our church that meets every Tuesday, and we just bring whatever we want to work on, but we can put tables together in the fellowship hall and lay all of our stuff out and work on those big things. So if I have a bigger quilt, I will cut it just a little bit farther into the batting, not right next to the quilt, and then I'll take it to the church and make sure it's all squared up and trimmed up nicely before I put my binding on. But I think this will be just fine doing it this way, and most of the time I'll do my small quilts this way. Just makes it simple to get off the long arm and also have it ready for binding. And there we have our little quilt. Here's the back. And so we are just about ready to start the binding. I'll probably do that in the next video. This was a fun little project, and I know it's going to be appreciated by a special little girl. And she can wrap up her dollies in there and just enjoy. All right, I hope to see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching at Simply Quilting.